Good day, welcome to the Automotive Dad and welcome to unrivaled luxury in the segment. This is the 2025 electrified Genesis G80. Now, Genesis have been making waves in the UK with their car launches, most recently with the revised GV60, but this electrified G80, and silently they've kind of pulled away at the internal combustion engines anyway. Effectively, it's just the G80 now, is a big flagship in luxury for them. Whilst it's not their flagship vehicle, when it comes to the luxury and aesthetic luxury that this provides, it's great. But from a family point of view, how does it do? Because it's quite long. It's quite a lot longer than you would consider anything in this segment. And it looks very fancy. So let's find out how the Genesis G80 does as a family car. Now, aesthetically, the front end is very Genesis. It's very bold and very of Genesis styling with their kind of signature LED headlight display. Big old grille. Big grille because it's hiding a charge port here. Now, if this was an internal combustion engine, you would say that this grille is a bit overkill. But it kind of makes sense when it comes to an electric vehicle that has a charge port at the front because it has to have somewhere to put it. And then there's a lot of other technology that needs to be hidden in there. The front end doesn't look out of place, out of proportion. It's quite stylish and generally a very nice thing to look at. And the exterior Geneva silver colour, £850 option, is a lovely, lovely colour because I like grey and silver cars. Not because I like grey and silver, but because it hides stone chips, it hides dirt, it hides general road grime really well to keep this looking as nice as possible. Now, the side profile is one of the most elegant points of this car. Not least because of the 19-inch alloys, which are give me massive early 2000s Maybach vibes. But it's just a very classy design. These aren't just empty grills, these are your indicators. There is a nice strong line flowing to the back. And as side profiles go, it just looks strong and elegant and nice and stands out. I think that's the big thing. In the school pickup car park, this stands out amongst any E-Class and 5 Series that you put it next to, and even up against things like an S-Class. This is still going to be right up there because this looks really good. But a note on these wheels, weird staggered thing going on, 245 45 19 on the front, 275 40 19 on the rear. Strange. And finishing off with the back end, which is the first time that you think that this is anything but a classy, elegant, super luxury fancy car. Because this is the first time that you see the more normal side of the design. Aesthetically, again, that kind of characteristic Genesis light design going on here. Nice Genesis branding, tells you it's a G80. But compared to the rest of the car, this is the most bland part. Not to say that this is bland or boring, but this feels more within its class, more of its 5 Series E-Class segment, whereas the rest of the car says about a class above. So the back end of the car is the least interesting, but actually isn't not interesting. It's still a very good looking part of the car, just not in the same elegant way as the rest of the car. When you get inside, you immediately feel that nothing within its class, 5 Series or E-Class, is anywhere close. This extended Napa leather is great. The design is amazing. The 27-inch OLED display in front of you is customizable, extremely clear, easy to navigate, and whilst there are a lot of haptic buttons, they're not annoying haptic buttons. They're easy to use. In fact, the whole infotainment is incredibly easy to use and does offer you wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Now, this one is also spec'd with the optional 17-speaker 17, that's right, Bang & Olufsen speaker system, which is punchy, powerful, and I would rate it up there as probably one of the best speaker systems that you can buy in a car now. The whole front end is just well thought out with cubby holes for everything that you could possibly need. And when you go into the glove box down here, you've got the option of turning on a UVC light. If you are a parent, you'll be fully aware of how dirty children can be and how many bugs they seem to just pull around with them. Anything that they have that you think is a little bit too dirty and you want to clean before you give it back to them, stick it in here. If a wet wipe's not going to do it, a UVC light will definitely help to pull and kill off a load of that bacteria. That's in your glove box, in your centre console armrest, which, by the way, is heated when you put on the heated seat. These seats are heated and cooled, are extremely comfortable. Headroom is relatively good. When you wear a hat, it can be slightly catching the top every now and then, but generally, not a complaint. The whole front end then is just well designed, easy to use, well thought out, and very family-esque. Now, Korean do family very, very well. As a culture, Korea love family, love sharing, love making things applicable to all. And you can see that in their design in this car, because the interior design is just well thought out for everyone possible. Now join me in the kids zone where they get an even more plush ride. Now the back end of this car is pure luxury. What you'll find is that the rear doors are bigger because this car is roughly, I think I read, 150 millimeters longer to give you this more luxurious rear area. Now, this more luxurious rear area also has the second row comfort. Now, the second row comfort gives a lot of different things, including lots of buttons in the back for kids to press, which are on a centre armrest, which can be folded away. They have to be folded away for my children or they will get pressed. But for all the other things, they can be turned off by a button in the front, which not only activate the rear child locks on the doors, but turn off the window switches, which also control the rear window blinds. Now, my kids would have a field day putting things up and down constantly and burning the motors out, but you can turn that off by a button. Now, the actual space in here is really, really good. The legroom is massive. Regardless of how tall you are, the headroom is incredibly good too. Now, some people criticise the fact that it has quite a high step entry, but when you compare this to, dare I say, even things like Rolls-Royce, they have quite high entry like this, where you don't slink back down into it. Ultimately, it's because it's got batteries underneath it, but the back end of this car is luxurious. It has ISOFIX, it has blinds, it has plug sockets, it has ventilation, it has control for everything, it has rear mirrors in the ceiling. This is a back end of a car which has been so well thought out that regardless of what you ask it to do, it can do it. If you need it to be a chauffeur vehicle, it will do it. But as family vehicles go, it is simply incredible. So much space. You can have 2 rear-facing ISOFIX seats and not affect the front seats whatsoever. And have space. Literally, and have space. Oh, and you don't even have to worry about closing doors because you press a button here and it will do it itself. Now, rear boot space-wise, this car gets a bit of criticism because even though it is a bigger vehicle, it only has 350 litres of boot capacity. That puts it in the kind of realm of a Golf. But it's wider than a Golf because it's a bigger car, obviously. And that width means that you can still fit relatively large things in there. Now, I've got a fold-up Cassato Whoosh 3. I could probably put another 3 in here, which I couldn't do in a Golf because of the width. Because of this width, it is completely usable. And there is obviously some extra storage underneath. And I do appreciate that within the segment, something like a 5 Series may have slightly more boot space, but when we're not talking huge amounts more. Same goes for an E-Class. When it's this size of vehicle and you need to put batteries, there's going to have to be a cut-off somewhere. Something's going to have to go to have that battery space in a vehicle of this size, especially battery of this size, 94.5 kilowatt hours. It's not a small battery. So the boot is still usable. Yes, it's not class leading, but putting it up against its actual competition in the class, it's not far off. completely usable, nice height to use, easy to get things in and out of. Nothing to complain about, really. The first thing you notice when you get in is that driving this feels luxurious. Lots of actual buttons, good amount of haptics, but actual buttons. Nice to have actual buttons. Your drive modes are as follows. Gives you Eco, Standard, Sport and Snow. But a long hold of the drive mode button gives you Chauffeur mode. Now, Chauffeur mode doesn't let you do much with regen braking, but does make the car silky smooth to drive. Makes a throttle response feel more like a 6-cylinder diesel, but still gives you all the power you could possibly need. Put it into sport mode and yeah, you get the idea. Because this has the Bang & Olufsen sound system, it also has active noise cancellation, which means even running these Michelin Pilot Sport 4s, it's very quiet inside. Very pleasant to be in. Besides a bit of the bing-bonging that you get, which is normal in a new car, you might as well be in the middle of a forest. It can be that quiet. At 30 miles an hour, you really hear nothing. Now, on paper, this is 370 PS, 700 newton meters of torque, 5 seconds to 62, top speed of 140. Those are all statistics that you would say make this a very fast car, no? The reality is that this is a very fast car. It's a very nice car to drive, and thanks to the optional adaptive rear steer, an easy car to navigate, even though it's the size of a block of flats. The steering feel itself, whilst not totally engaged and connected, is not disconnected. You do have a bit of fun with it. The throttle response entirely depends on what drive mode you're in. But the brake pedal feel doesn't feel EV-y at all. It just feels like a standard brake pedal. And this car in Eco or Sport mode doesn't feel boaty or wafty or anything untoward at all. It feels quite planted. Stick it in Sport mode especially, and this car feels very planted. Bearing in mind the size of it and the type of market that it's catered towards, this is very engaged corner fun to drive, if that makes sense. It's good in corners. Stick it in comfort, standard, it's a bit more boaty. Chauffeur mode especially. It does grip on. The Pilot Sport 4s are a great tyre for this car. It holds on no end, but it suddenly becomes more like a chauffeur car when you stick it in chauffeur mode. Funny that. Not just from a braking point of view, the suspension goes, ooh, let's keep you comfortable, sir. Economy-wise, they say it can get like 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Achievable, depending on the time of year and the type of drive cycle you're doing, you could potentially see more. I averaged anywhere between 3 and 3.5, depending on my drive cycle. And what I found is that it didn't really like sitting at 55 miles an hour. It actually preferred to sit at 70. And around town, it prefers to use iPedal. That's where you get the best economy, really. But for a vehicle of this size to actually be a bit of fun and to get good economy, good range is quite impressive. They say on paper 350-ish miles. Yeah, on a really good day, I would comfortably say it will get 320 miles. And I'd be charging up at 300 miles, just to be safe. But that's no bad thing. It's a 94.5 kilowatt hour battery. It's a big old thing. And that's another thing to mention. That makes this car heavy. But you really don't feel it. This doesn't feel the weight it is until you really push it through a corner. Then you start to feel the weight. But this is, for me, the closest thing that I've had to driving something like, in chauffeur terms, an S500. So, nice big V8, lots of power, but still a little bit wafty. It's the closest thing I've had in an EV ever. And it's really fun. And tech-wise, this is just bundled with it. It can basically drive itself, unofficially. It's got advanced avoidance technology, so you're not ploughing into the back of someone's 7 cars in front of you because it knows what's happened before it's even got there. Cameras here, there and everywhere. Self-park if you need it. This is an extremely well thought out vehicle, which is just a pleasure to drive. And as EVs go, they can normally, historically they've been a bit boring. They've got better recently, but this is genuinely a really fun car to drive. So I'm thoroughly impressed on a drive point of view. So for £85,000 on the road, is this a lot of car for the money? Yes. Does it drive well? Yes. Full of tech and safety? Yes. Is it a great family car? Well, yes. And aesthetically, it looks completely different from the competition. When you put it up against them, you really notice it. At school pickup, this stands out and looks 2-3 classes above what it actually costs. And the drive is engaged and fun, but equally can be a boat when you need it to. This is a car which ticks so many boxes and yet is relatively unknown in the UK. In this segment, people go for 5 Series and E-Class. But consider a G80, because not only will you stand out from everyone else in the car park, you'll enjoy the ride too, because this is honestly just a glorious wafting machine that can also be a bit of a sports car at the same time. Genesis have knocked it out of the park with this one. It's a great car. More people need to know about this car. More people.